This presentation will provide you with an insight into the financial planning sector. The topics covered in this presentation will be the evolution of the financial planning industry in Australia, the economic environment, and the macroeconomic indicators of financial advice. Thomas Warshaw defines financial planning as the process that takes into account the client's personality, financial status, and the socio-economic and legal environments, and leads to the adoption of strategies and the use of financial tools that are expected to aid in achieving the client's financial goals. The key areas of financial planning are retirement planning, superannuation, investments, taxation, self-managed super funds, and estate planning. The importance of financial planning in recent times has enhanced the following factors in Australia: the ageing population, expected reductions in access to age pension, superannuation, the broad range of superannuation investment funds, proposed changes to taxation, regulatory body changes. The evolution of the financial planning industry. Key dates that have shaped the financial planning industry in Australia. From the mid-1980s, several major events occurred and enhanced the development of the financial planning industry. These events included the introduction of rollover superannuation funds, capital gains tax, tax fringe benefits, and the creation of imputation credits on company dividends. There are a number of major changes in the 2000s, including the Financial Services Reform Act, the Age Pension Asset and Income Tests in 2017, and the major review of the financial planning industry between 2008 and 2010. The 2010s also had major changes in the financial planning industry, namely the 2011 proposed changes to the future of financial advice, the introduction of the MySuper Default Fund, and the revision of the RG175. In March 2017, reforms were introduced into the Corporations Act by the Corporations Amendment Act to raise the education, training, and ethical standards for financial advisors. The Financial Advisor Standards and Ethics Authority is responsible for the implementation and the overseeing of professional standards. The Royal Commission into Misconduct in Banking, Superannuation and Financial Services Industry in 2019 identified 3 key areas of reform required to complete a transition into a profession. These key areas are the fees for no service, poor advice as a result of the conflicts of interest, and the disciplinary system for financial planners. The economic environment. In order to make effective financial plans, advisors need to have sound knowledge of the current economic conditions. This is achieved by identifying the correct business cycle and strategizing around current conditions to continue to meet the client's needs and objectives. The business cycle can be defined as the cycle of fluctuations in gross domestic product around its long-term natural growth rate. There are 4 stages of the business cycle. Expansion. Employment and economic growth are high and increases in inflation are concerning. Contraction. The economy is slowing down and unemployment is on the rise. Recession. High unemployment rates and low to negative economic growth. And recovery. Unemployment rate is decreasing and the economic growth begins to rise again. There are 2 main mechanisms in which the government can assist in reducing the excesses caused by the business cycles. Monetary policy, where the Reserve Bank of Australia will increase or decrease the cash rate in order to shift the current trend of consumers. To encourage consumer spending, the RBA will decrease interest rate, and to slow the rate of spending, the RBA would increase interest rates. Fiscal policy, where the government will manage the economy through government-controlled taxation and spending. Where the government wants to encourage consumer spending, they will reduce tax and could provide stimulus such as the 2019 Rudd government $900 package in line with the impacts of the global financial crisis. Other historic events that have required these mechanisms include the following: the share market crash of 1987, the World Trade Center disaster in 2001, and the ongoing European debt crisis. In the present COVID-19 impacted times, Australia has entered into a recession cycle. To assist in reaching a recovery cycle, the RBA had held interest rates at an all-time low, while the Morrison government had implemented tax reductions, increased government spending in the form of stimulus packages, and JobKeeper. There are four major macroeconomic indicators that impact financial planning. These indicators include, but are not limited to, GDP, the market value of all the final goods and services provided within a country in any given time period. Consumer confidence data is an extremely important leading indicator for investors, given its ability to predict consumer spending patterns. Strong GDP usually means a greater demand for borrowing for businesses and consumers. Diminishing GDP equals low inflation rates and reduces demand for borrowing. Inflation rate, the percentage change in the price level from one year to the next. The risk associated with inflation is the purchasing power of a person's money will be eroded by the increases in the cost of living. Cash rate, the interest on the interbank overnight loans market. Through its effects on the funding costs of financial institutions, the cash rate has a strong influence over the lending and deposit rates that households and businesses face. The impacts of the cash rate directly affect those with fixed interest investment, where they are faced with the declining income from a falling cash rate. However, first home buyers can benefit from a falling interest rate. Unemployment rate, the percentage of people in the labour force who are unemployed. The financial, budgetary and economic effects of unemployment are profound. Many of those who leave the workforce unwillingly do not have the resources for a comfortable and long retirement. The price paid by society is increased income support, health and community support costs, and the reduction in human capital and productivity. This concludes my presentation on the financial planning industry. As discussed, the role of the financial planner is critical in the life cycle events of all individuals and in any economy. Congratulations on taking your first steps in joining this industry and changing the lives of many people.